Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So day 3 of spoiler season, well, official spoiler season, I guess, is up and at it already. We've got Luxior, Gianna's Gift, and this card, well, you're gonna have to believe it to see it, so make sure you check out that episode at some point. But yeah, there are some pretty spicy things you can do with this 1 mana artifact. But don't leave just yet, because this episode is on a brand new exciting commander that I am really pumped about myself, with Queza, Augur of Agonies. Now, to find out what this commander does, though, you will have to go down to the comments and blame Eddie. Okay? Alright, now that you've done that, we can jump into it. Really quick, a big thank you to MTG Goldfish for the translated version of this card. So, Queza, Augur of Agonies is a 3/4 Cephalid Advisor. That's right, Cephalids are back in this set, though they look different, but let's not jump into that. Anyways, it costs 1 white, blue, black. And this is a very simple commander with just 1 sentence worth of text. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Again, that might be a simple 2 lines of text, essentially, but that is an incredibly impactful one, and one that you can build a very potent deck around. I mean, again, this might, show up as an uncommon commander, but there is really nothing uncommon about it. Sometimes it's the simple things in life that are the best, and my goodness, can you do some incredibly powerful things with this one. So even just for, your regular draw for the turn during your draw step, you get to say, oh, okay, that player, you know what? You're going to go down 1, I'm going to go up 1. So not only are you taking a player down every single time you draw a card, but you're also padding your life total in the process. And of course, in a format like Commander, there are a ton of ways to draw an absurd amount of cards at once. And also there are ways to, well, maybe, make things go a bit quicker. And with that said, let's jump to some cards right after I mention that, of course, the cards that I'm mentioning in this episode for this commander. If you want to build around the commander, I have made you a list of these cards in the description below. So yeah, after taking some feedback from you and the rest of the lovely community out there, it seems to be helpful that players, say, hey, could you just compile the list that you talked about for this commander so, I can just have it? Absolutely. Because there are definitely some cards that you might want to pick up sooner rather than later, because, yeah, when players are excited about a commander, those cards tend to go up in demand quite quickly. Regardless, let's jump into those cards. First up, yes, this commander is going to want all the wheels. Well, all the wheels that you possibly can use and all the wheels that fit within your budget. So let's talk about some cards like Tolarian Winds, Windfall, and Jace's Archivist. Tolarian Winds is a simple spell, an instant for 1 and a blue. It says discard your hand, then draw that many cards. So obviously this is just a way to essentially cycle out your hand and say, oh, I don't want this hand anymore. Let's just get another hand. So for 2 mana at instant speed, you're like, okay, I have 7 cards in my hand. Obviously when you cast Tolarian Winds, you don't get to count that one. So let's say now 6 cards in hand. Discard 6, draw 6, and now that is also, oh, unlucky opponent out there, that is -6 life to you, +6 life to me, or obviously you can split that up since they're different draws. Next up, Windfall is a sorcery that says each player discards their hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. So with this one, you obviously can take advantage of an opponent having more cards in hand than you, and you just say, oh, okay, you've got 7 cards in your hand. Awesome, I'm a bit low on cards myself, so I'm going to go up to 7 and probably also drain you for a ton as well. And of course, while draining, also padding my own life total. Thank you so much. And then Jace's Archivist is another fantastic wheel, a repeatable wheel, a 2/2 that says, pay a blue, tap, each player discards their hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. Basically a windfall on a creature, so Yes, this is essentially just a fantastic way to keep drawing a ton of cards, replacing your hand, and again, draining your opponents for a ton while also padding your life total. Now, obviously, there are plenty of other wheels to mention, and yeah, this commander probably wants all the wheels it can get its hands on, but of course, there are other cards that work very well with it too. Because next up, we have got to talk about Peer into the Abyss. This is a sorcery for 4 black, 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 so 7 mana in total, but it is going to be well worth casting for this commander. It says, target player draws cards equal to half the number of cards in their library and loses half their life round up each time. So this card usually, again, is just saying, okay, well, if I'm going to point this at myself, I have to, well, lose half my life, so go down to like 20 life, but hey, I get to draw 40 or so cards, so in some scenarios, that can definitely be worth it. Now, obviously, you could conversely point this at an opponent, but in this deck, that's not going to be the case. Because again, with your commander in play, you say, okay, targeting myself with this, let's draw, say again, 40 cards. Cool. All right, I lose half my life, so I go down to, 20 or so, whatever, because I'm also going to be gaining 40 life, because I'm going to be draining my opponents for every single one of those cards drawn. And again, this can easily take out at least one player. Because again, for each of those cards drawn, you make target opponent lose 1 life and you gain 1 life. And yeah, I mean, again, if anyone's anywhere near 40, they are probably taken out. And of course, on top of that, though you usually would be losing life on this card, well, again, you'd lose 20 or so, let's just say, and then you also gain probably more than you actually lost because you're actually draining your opponents thanks to your commanders. So just a net positive here, and also, getting half your library in your hand, essentially. Speaking of drawing a ton of cards with this commander, though, 2 cards I have got to highlight that work in combination with this commander are cards like Drogskol Reaver and Lich's Mastery. And yeah, these are going to be some really spicy plays. Drogskol Reaver is a 3/5 spirit with flying, double strike, and lifelink, but that's not the important part here. The important part is whenever you gain life, draw a card. And again, of course, our commander reads, whenever you draw a card, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So it's kind of like the reverse, obviously not including the opponent, losing life. But yeah, in combination, this goes infinite, or should I specify, near infinite. Because let's just say, yeah, again, for your draw step, you draw a card. Your commander says, cool, you drew a card, let's drain someone for 1. So that opponent goes down 1, you go up 1. Drogskol Reaver sees that, says, hey, you gain life, draw a card. Then your commander says, all right, let's drain again. Then Drogskol says, draw again. So this is just an infinite loop. But again, it is limited based on the number of cards in your library. That being said, first up, if the number of cards that is in your library is greater than the total of your opponent's life totals, they are gone. And if it is not, well, you might have a way to shuffle your hand or graveyard or whatnot into your library at instant speed, and you would need that. Otherwise, you're going to mill yourself and lose. But yeah, if you are planning on comboing in this way, definitely have a backup plan of some sort. Obviously shuffling, those things back in your library to give you more cards to draw is definitely the way that you want to go. But if you really need to, obviously you could utilize a spell to either take out your commander or Drogskol Reaver to stop the combo. And another card that combos with this is a fantastic card that has a place that is near and dear to my heart because of one of my decks, and that is Lich's Mastery. It is a legendary enchantment with hexproof that says you can't lose the game, and whenever you gain life, draw that many cards. And of course, whenever you lose life for each 1 life you lost, exile a permanent you control a card from your hand or graveyard. When Lich's Mastery leaves the game, you lose the game. So this is a high-risk, high-reward enchantment that, well, can just make you lose the game in a lot of scenarios, but also can help you win the game in this one. In combination with this commander, again, it says whenever you gain life, draw that many cards. So when you drain an opponent for 1, you gain 1 life. You draw 1 card, your commander drains, and then you draw, and then you drain, and then you draw. Again, infinite like Drogskol Reaver, but unlike Drogskol Reaver, again, with this in play, you can't lose the game. So even when your library is out of cards and you've probably, drained out, 2 opponents and maybe 1 is left and barely standing, you don't lose when you get down to having no cards and then you're forced to draw, but you can't draw, so there's not a loss there. Now, obviously, from that position, you are out of cards in your library. You've got every single card in your hand, so you can probably find a way to win, again, including probably, shuffling your graveyard or hand back into your library to draw some more cards to then drain further. That's probably the way that I would go. But yeah, each of these have a very powerful interaction with this commander and essentially are 1-card combos, though again, with that limitation on your library size. Now, cards that do not, go infinite in combo, but do work very well with this commander are cards like Well of Lost Dreams and Dawn of Hope. Well of Lost Dream says whenever you gain life, you may pay X, where X is less than or equal to the amount of life you gain. If you do, draw X cards. So this is actually a very funny do you want to pay the 1 kind of interaction where, hey, okay, all right, we drew a card, all right, we drain an opponent for 1, we gain 1, and then Well of Lost Dreams is asking you, do you want to pay the 1? Which is actually a good thing this time, because when you pay 1 because you gain 1 life, you draw a card. Then you drain again. Then, do you want to pay the 1? So essentially, you can keep doing this again and again and again to just draw as many cards as the amount of mana that you have, or however much you want. And while you're doing so, again, you are draining an opponent, or opponents. Dawn of Hope is slightly less effective, but still very good with this commander. It says, whenever you gain life, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. So again, like Well of Lost Dreams, this is a repeatable way to draw cards for mana, but it costs 2 instead of 1. Next up, some other cards that you might want to consider that make this commander even more potent are cards like Psychosis Crawler, Marauding Blight Priest, and Vizkopa Guildmage. Psychosis Crawler can help you out in combination with your commander. It says whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. So this is kind of separate from your commander. Your commander also cares about you drawing cards, and obviously in this deck, you care about drawing them, so you're going to be including plenty of wheels and ways to draw a ton of cards. And now whenever you do draw a card, not only are you draining an opponent for 1 and gaining a life, but on top of that, Psychosis Crawler is going to be taking all of your opponents down by 1. So obviously this can really help you speed up the process. Speaking of which, Marauding Blight Priest says whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. So in a very similar way, this one actually works in direct combination with your commander, where your commander says, okay, I drained an opponent for 1 because I drew a card, so I gained a life, and now each opponent is drained by 1 because of that. And then yet another card that works very well with this commander, and actually with kind of any other life gain synergies that you might have, is Vizkopa Guildmage. By paying 1 white black, it says whenever you gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life. So yeah, this can drain pretty quickly as well. And next up, 3 enchantments that I want to highlight really quick for this commander, if you've got the budget for some of them: Sanguine Bond and Wound Reflection, and Warlock class. Sanguine Bond is an enchantment that says whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So essentially this can help you double up on your draining from your commander, or again, you can take advantage of other life gain sources too. And then Wound Reflection says at the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life they lost this turn. So obviously this can also double up on your draining too, and also double up on any other damage or life loss, that your opponents might incur on any turn. A more specific version of this, though, is Warlock class, which says for level 3, at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life they lost this turn. So again, just another way to make your draining even more effective. Now, really quick though, one commander that I do want to highlight that might want Queza in the 99 of its deck is Augur Ageless Ascetic. Augur has the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 2 life. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 1. If you do draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. And of course, at the beginning of your upkeep, if Augur Ascetic is in your command zone, you gain 2 life. But the important one here again is that middle. Again, when you draw a card with Queza in play, you drain an opponent for 1, which means you gained a life, so you can pay 1. When you do, you're going to draw another card, and then each opponent loses 1 life, and then because of Queza, you're going to drain an opponent further, which again makes you drain an opponent and gain a life. So essentially, like Well of Lost Dreams, this can just keep you going and going and going for, the amount of mana that you want to pay into it, and on top of that, you are draining your opponents when you are doing so. So yeah, I can definitely see some Augur decks out there making use of Queza. But as this episode is coming to a close, it's time for me to give you my final thoughts on Queza, Augur of Agonies. Again, this is the kind of uncommon commander that, well, it doesn't really seem all that uncommon. It is a very simple commander with a very simple 2 lines of text, 1 sentence of text, but this commander can do some incredibly powerful things. Again, a simple wheel can be agonizing to an opponent, hence, the name Augur of Agonies, by draining them for a ton, or you can spread that out if you'd like to as well. And of course, there are ways to take advantage of this that can even be infinite, or again, near infinite. But of course, you probably have some backup plans to basically make it to the point, where it is infinite, essentially, where you just win the game by doing that. So yeah, I can see a lot of players out there being excited about this brand new Esper commander. And speaking of more exciting cards, make sure you're on the lookout for even more exciting quick takes coming up on this channel. We've got 4 more days of spoilers, well, 4 counting today. So yeah, be on the lookout for more exciting spoilers. And if you haven't seen my previous quick takes as well, make sure you check out those too. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.